Well, today we're interviewing one of the Republican candidates who hopes to be the winner of the Oregon primary for the Republican nomination to go up against sitting U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley. We are delighted to have with us today Mark Callahan, and I want to read something here off of his literature because this may just pretty much end the interview right here. He says he's pro-freedom, pro-U.S. Constitution, pro-limited government, pro-military, pro-free market, pro-life, begins at conception, pro-gun, strongly believes in the Second Amendment, pro-God, believes in religious freedom, and pro-family. Well, Mark, I'll just sign for you and move on. Why should we talk anymore? You pretty much nailed it all there.
I know what I stand for, and I'm really direct. I don't sugarcoat about it either. So.
Oh, that's great. Nice to have you with us today. Now, professionally, you're an IT consultant. What do you do?
I fix computers for a living. So basically what I do is I work for a consulting firm up out of the Portland area, and they kind of farm me out to other companies in Oregon, between Salem and the Portland area, to do computer work. And this most recent position that I had is doing network administration work also up in the Portland area.
All right, good for you. So what made you decide to go after the U.S. Senate?
Well, it got to the point for me where I just had to get off the couch, stop watching TV, and complaining. I had to actually get out there and do something about what I was seeing happening to our country and our freedom. And I come home every night. I spend time with my daughters, and I look at my daughters and I look at their future. And to me, I gotta do what I can as a dad and a father to secure their freedom, to make sure that they have a future that's based upon freedom as our country was founded upon as a constitutional republic 238 years ago. So, as I said, I just can't sit around anymore. I'm a very passionate individual, and in terms of it coming to my daughters, it's very personal to me in terms of being able to do what I'm doing out there on the campaign trail. And I mean, I know I'm not the money leader, but the point is I have the passion and I have the message. To me, it's about the message as opposed to the money. So I'm not doing it for fame, fortune, or glory here. I'm doing it because I feel the drive to do it, and I want to be able to secure not only my daughter's freedom in the future, but my country's freedom and the freedom of all of our sons and daughters.
Well, again, I commend you for doing it because I know running a campaign, especially statewide, is an incredible commitment. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for the sacrifice that your family's making in doing it. Let's get into a couple of these issues that are certainly critical. This week, as you know, Obamacare is celebrating its 4th birthday, catastrophic failure nationwide. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think it can be repealed?
I think it can be repealed. I mean, the House has tried 40 times, 40 times I think is what it is now, to repeal it. And then it's sent over to the Senate. And unfortunately, in the Senate, you have Harry Reid that basically refuses to even bring it to the floor. So what we need to do, the strategy we need to do is in the 2014 election, we need to keep the majority in the House. Then we need to get a majority in the Senate, take that gavel away from Harry Reid, and we can stop a lot of this stuff and push through the full repeal of Obamacare. I advocate for the full repeal of Obamacare, not the repeal and replace or repeal and fix like some of the other candidates in the race advocate for, but the full repeal of Obamacare, because Obamacare is socialism. It's not based in freedom. And we have the March 31st deadline coming up here where the president's really pushing, oh, you got to sign up. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not going to sign up for socialism. I'm not going to sign up to infringe upon my own freedom as an American. And I mean, a lot of other Americans feel the same way I do. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Obamacare, or what my team and I refer to as Merkley Care, because he voted for it. And it's evil, it's socialism, and needs to go away by full repeal.
All right, let's look at a couple of other things. A lot of people don't know that the Common Core education system is now upon us. A lot of people don't even know what it is, and even a lot of educators don't even know what they're in for. What's your thoughts on Common Core?
Oh, Common Core, that's another socialist piece of legislation that needs to go away, too. I mean, it's being pushed by the U.S. Department of Education, which is another agency that also needs to go away. But basically, a Common Core, it's liberal progressivism, basically infecting our schools. I personally have had bad experience with the Common Core myself, a couple of them, where I actually went to a parents' meeting, started talking out against Common Core. I get a call 8 days later from the superintendent of my daughter's school district saying that if I ever talk against Common Core again, I'll be removed from the room. Well, I'm a parent here, and I'm speaking out what I believe in and what I want my daughter's education to be, and I'm being threatened by the school superintendent. Another thing I'm seeing is my daughters are bringing home homework when they do bring home homework anymore. And I'm seeing things at the bottom of their homework, like their math homework, like what is the reasonable answer for a math problem. Whenever I was going to school, when you have a math problem, it's either right or it's wrong. You don't have the reasonable answer because, for one thing, the bank isn't going to care what you think the reasonable balance in your checkbook is, or the IRS isn't going to care what you think the reasonable amount of taxes are. It's either right or wrong, and that's it. So Common Core is another socialist piece of program, and that just needs to go away. And I'll fight to make it go away when I get to the U.S. Senate.
Did you expose this superintendent for threatening you for doing this?
Yes, I did. I actually went to the school board meeting. I stated it flat out at the school board meeting. Of course, at the school board meeting, at the public comment session, it's basically your 3 minutes of fame. They just roll their eyes at you and they don't do anything about it. But I also posted it on the internet too, and nothing ever came of it. She got another six-figure job at a company, I think like an education services company. And they never did anything about it. So
wow. All right, let's move on to a couple of others. Immigration, as you know, Mark, is big, and it doesn't look like anything's going to come through the House because of this election cycle. But shortly thereafter, if the Democrats are able to take over the House, you know that amnesty is going to be full throttle. What's your thought on the current immigration, and what's your thought on some kind of a policy there?
Well, what we have right now is a broken system. I mean, we have laws that are not being enforced. We have a border that's not being secured. And we have all these Gang of Eight pro-amnesty politicians that are pushing for amnesty, as you stated. But the point is, I mean, my plan for when I get in there in terms of fixing the immigration policy is, one, secure the border. We got to turn off the spigot here. It's no longer just an immigration issue to me. It's a national security issue. We could have potential terrorists that have come and will come through our southern border because it's unsecure. So we need to secure the border first. Next, we need to enforce existing law. Right now, existing law is not being enforced by the president or the executive that's supposed to be enforcing the laws that Congress passes. So we need to motivate him somehow to enforce existing law. And if he's not able to do it, then we need to impeach him and we need to convict him. So, and then the third thing is we need to say no to amnesty. If you're going to be here as an American, then you're going to earn the right to be here as an American. You have to stand in line just like everyone else to be an American, and if you want to actually earn your way into this country as opposed to breaking and entering.
All right. Let's look at a couple of things that are hot button. If you were sitting in the U.S. Senate, would you vote for a full-blown investigation of Benghazi?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. We need to keep those that were accountable. I mean, this stuff where Hillary Clinton goes on television saying what difference does it make? Well, yeah, it makes a difference when 4 Americans died on your watch, Hillary Clinton. And so we have unaccountable behavior that think they could just, from people like Hillary Clinton and those under her, that think they can just get away with things and say, what difference does it make, and blow it off. Well, that's not what our country is about. Our country is about freedom. Our country is about accountability and holding those that serve us accountable instead of just letting them get a pass and say, well, what difference does it make? Well, that's not what our country is about, and Hillary Clinton and those under her need to be held accountable.
The IRS is certainly out of control. The IRS scandal and investigation continues to go on. It would appear to me that the best thing that the IRS can do is go away. However, in order for it to go away, we'd have to replace it with another tax system. What would you think that should be?
I mean, right now we have a progressive tax system. So what I would advocate for is replacing that with a flat tax or a fair tax that's been out there on the internet. Now, people can do their own research on the flat tax or fair tax, but right now the progressive tax system is tyranny. The progressive tax system is not fair at all. It's basically charging people, Americans, different rates for different portions of their income. Well, when you tax and tax and tax and you have unaccountable politicians out there spending tax money, and they're overspending because we have a $17, $18 trillion debt or national deficit as well, then we need to hold them accountable. We need to hold them in check in terms of being able to spend our money. And I advocate for replacing the current progressive tax system with a flat tax or fair tax system.
Mark, the NSA is spying on U.S. citizens, and it's got a lot of people upset. Do you think this is in violation of the U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment?
Yes, I do. Basically, Americans, according to our Fourth Amendment, need to be secure, or are granted to be secure in their papers and effects. And what the NSA is doing right now is against the Fourth Amendment. So yes, I would say that the NSA does violate our Fourth Amendment by basically creating this blanket search and seizure. And it's not what our country's about. Our country's about freedom, and they're obviously not upholding freedom by doing that and violating our Fourth Amendment.
All right. Under this administration, the military continues to be cut, and yet we are in the most volatile world in the history of the world. What's your feeling about cutting the military?
Well, right now we need to be able to. I strongly support the military, as stated in my literature. Both my parents were Navy in the 70s, and then my mother went back in as a mess cook in the 90s. So I strongly support the military. We need to be able to support the military and provide them with what they need to keep our country strong and free in terms of our own national security. So there is some. With any organization, there are some ways to make things more efficient. But in terms of military cuts, like you said, I don't think we should be cutting the military, because it basically directly affects our own national security and our own national standing in the world. So I strongly support the military. I don't think it should be cut.
All right, Mark, before we run out of time, how do people get a hold of you and support your campaign?
Well, my campaign website is at callahanfororegon.com. That's CALLAHANFOROREGON.com. I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/Callahan for Oregon, and then also Twitter, which is the @ symbol, and then Callahan, the number 4, and then the word Oregon.
All right, pretty busy campaign schedule between now and, between now and the time the ballots come out, which is the middle of May. How many more forums do you have in front of you? Do you know yet?
Well, I know we have at least, I think, 3 coming up here, one in Multnomah County, and then one, I believe the Republican women of Central Lane County are having one at the end of April. I know Multnomah County's is on the 31st. I'd have to look at my calendar. My team tries to keep my calendar up to date, and then I also post all the events I'm going to on my website, again, at callahanfororegon.com. But I could really use some. I've been traveling all over the state here, and putting a lot of miles and gas in the car, and gas isn't exactly cheap anymore. So I could use all the financial support if I could get it, in terms of campaign donations.
All right. Well, folks, check it out, callahanfororegon.com. Best to you, Mark. And again, thank you for sacrificing your time, your career, and your family's time to go out and do this. This is great, and best to you, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, Perry. I really appreciate the job you did at the candidate forum last week on the 18th, and thank you for taking the time to interview me this morning.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a technical problem, but got that straightened out. Delighted to have in the studio with us today Dr. Bree Keyton, professor of Faith Bible College, and serves on the board of directors of research. And her own story and her current ministry is pretty fascinating. And she's in the area speaking. In fact, tomorrow she'll be at the Grants Pass Aglow at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then Friday, Saturday, she'll be at the Esther Force Conference, which is going to be located at 33 North Central Street in Medford. And that'll be from 1 until 7 and 10 until 1. And then on Sunday, she'll be at the Jerusalem Center with Pastor Dave Gomez. So, Bree, nice to have you.
Great to be here.
Boy, you get around.
Yeah, we try.
You're rescuing pygmies in Congo, which is an incredible story. But your own story first. I want you to take a few moments and tell us about your story of healing and how you went from being a nightclub performer to being a missionary in Africa. That's quite a jump.
Well, from the time I was a child, my brother and I traveled together. We were musicians and singers. We had kind of a Donnie and Marie Osmond type act, little kids. And as we got older, we started warming up big name rock stars like Chicago, Blood, Sweat and Tears, groups like that. We had a big show band. And so we toured all the time, warming up this act, that act. And one night while I was performing on stage, a man came in the back and shot me in the head. So I fell forward. I had really long hair then. It was like I could tuck and sit on it. So blood was just gushing out of my head right here, all the way down my hair into the floor. I fell down. They took me to the hospital. The doctor dug the bullet out, and he said, "You're fine, go home." And only God could do that, because being shot in the head, most people don't live to tell that tale. But God was with me because somebody was praying for me all those years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then later I was full of fear after that.
And
imagine. I needed to be delivered of fear. It was very bad. But a few years later, my brother quit, and I went on in show business with my own band. And one night, I got very depressed in a hotel room in Florida, and I got out all my pills, and I started to lift them to my mouth, and I was going to kill myself. And the phone rang. It was Steve, my keyboard player. He said, "Turn on the TV. There's something you have to see." I said, "Leave me alone." I screamed in the phone. And he said, "No, no, no, no. Turn on the TV." So I put down the phone and went over and flipped on the television. And there was Pat Robertson of the 700 Club. It was way in the wee hours of the morning. It was being rerun. And he pointed right at the screen and he said, "Put down those pills."
Really?
I said, "Oh, God, you got my phone number. How'd you do that?" Anyway, I flushed those pills away, quit show business, went home, and gave my heart to Jesus. He delivered me of everything. I was addicted to drugs and alcohol and all of this, and Jesus healed me and set me free. I'll never, ever stop loving my Lord.
Wow, what a story, and what a testimony of what we do in broadcasting, being there at the right time. Wow. Well, how did you go from there to Africa?
Well, after we were saved and we learned about the Lord and we studied the Word, we decided, let's use our gifts for the Lord, our music and all of that. So we put together a Christian band, started recording, started getting nationwide airplay. I have 6 hits, nationwide airplay. And I started preaching the gospel. I went to Bible college. I got 2 doctorates. And I was touring and speaking, teaching, doing conferences, professor, all this, having 3 boys. I raised 3 great big boys, 6'4", 6'5".
Wow.
And the Lord spoke to me in an audible voice. And he said, "Go to the Pygmies."
Go to the Pygmies.
Go to the... Yes, sir, I said.
I mean, you're about as white and blonde as they come.
I know.
You're being sent to the Pygmies.
You know this. It isn't about how we look. It's about our heart.
Right.
And because I belong to him, he can order me to do anything he might wish. And I've told him I'll go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I packed and went to the Pygmies. Now, listen, they're hard to find. The ones that need the help the most in the Congo, there's been a war for 20 years there.
Right.
And these are the same rebels that murdered 1 million Tutsis in 100 days in Rwanda. They're the same rebels that are running that terrible genocide in Sudan, where the Muslims are murdering the Christians. And they crossed that border into the Congo in '94 after the genocide in Rwanda and started slaughtering the Congolese, but they eat the Pygmies. They have eaten, killed, murdered, destroyed over 2/3 of those Pygmies in the Congo.
Wow.
I didn't know it. When God said, "Go to the Pygmies," audible voice, I just thought, oh, he wants me to rescue Pygmies. Oh, yay. I was happy. But when we crossed over to the first time, the border of the Congo, my scouts found some Pygmies in the deep, deep forests there and brought them out to wait for me, and they waited about 2 weeks. And we came up to the border, which was a border you have to walk in. There are many borders. Yeah. The Congo used to be Zaire. It's huge, huge country. Right. We came up that hill, and there were 4 men standing there with machine guns. And when I came to the top of the hill, I stood still, and they were screaming at me in Congolese. So I just stood there, and I began to sing, "Oh, the blood of Jesus." I don't know what else to sing. Yeah. And so I'm singing that, and they got very angry, and they started shooting their guns in the air. Now, I was a warm-up act for Chicago, and I know the song, "What Goes Up
it comes down.
Must Come Down." Bullets going up in the air have to come back down. So I started to sing, "Oh, God, help." And they turned their machine guns right on me. My whole team, there were 8 of us I took that first time. They ran down the hill, left me to die. But I lifted my hand like this, and I shouted, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." And I'm shouting scriptures, and they started shooting right at me. And all the bullets fell in the dirt at my feet. You know, they finally quit shooting.
Wow.
Because all they had was bullets.
Right.
I had the Word of God, which is powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword. And they gave up shooting and let us in the country. And I found my first little group of 200 Pygmies, led them all to the Lord. And that's when they told me, most of our tribe has been eaten by rebels.
How do you communicate to them?
I have interpreters. But I'll tell you what, we have so many miracle stories. We've raised 7 from the dead. So many wonderful stories. Healings. Stumps for arms just grow out with fingers. Blind eyes open and eyes form in sockets that were never there. Giant goiters fall off. And we've seen hundreds of miracles. Right now, we've rescued 58,000 Pygmies from the hands of the rebels. We only go to the ones that are in deep conflict.
When you get them out, where do they go? What do you do with them?
I buy land far away from the deep jungles, near roads where UN troops patrol. And I build them villages and move them there. They have to hike out because they're afraid to get in trucks and things. But they'll sit there and help us build. And I give them a little instrument called a proclaimer. Have you ever heard of those? It's the New Testament in a language they can understand. And they sit around, solar powered, and they listen to it every single night around the campfire. And every time I come back for follow-up missions, because I've built 20 villages now, they quote the word to me. All their songs and dances are scripture, and they love the Lord. I've led 58,000 to Jesus, the Messiah.
And for how long have you been doing this now?
5 years and 4 months.
That's unbelievable. And how do people get involved in what you do?
They can go to my website, BreeKeytonMinistries.com, BreeKeyton Ministries. And also, I want everybody to get my new book. This is, oh, there, she's showing it. This is Pygmies. And it has miracle stories, over 50 pictures, and it's a wonderful way to be introduced to the least of these, the most hated and persecuted and genocided people on earth, in the most dangerous country on earth, in the densest jungle on earth. This is the most terrible place on earth to go, and yet God sent me there.
That's amazing. You're still doing it?
Oh, yes.
And how many Pygmies do you think are still in the jungle?
Well,
any idea?
If you understand, there were about 750,000 Pygmies. Now there's only about 250,000 in the Congo. There are 2 Congos. There's a little bitty Congo, no conflict. The great big Congo, which is Democratic Republic of Congo, that's where we go. And
do you have any opposition from the government or anybody like that?
No, the government, we're registered with them. I have a corporation there. And we're perfectly legal there, of course. But the government is in constant conflict with the rebels. There are a lot of rebels. And they mine for blood gold and blood diamonds. So they're very rich, very wealthy. If anybody ever saw that movie, Blood Diamond, DiCaprio,
right.
fantastic true story. And it's about Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe. So the rebels there were murdering. They go in, murder whole villages of people, and that's what they do in the Congo. This is a horrifying thing. They'll go in and rape every woman. No woman can get back in her tribe or village. She's ostracized if she's raped. Most of the rebels have AIDS. They're spreading it. Then they'll take all the little girls and make them sex slaves. The little boys are made child soldiers. It's a big problem. And the men, the ones they don't kill, are forced into slavery. They must mine for the gold and the diamonds, which are conflict diamonds and gold. But the rebels sell all this on the black market, and they have a lot of money to keep doing what they do.
How do you communicate the gospel past their own superstitions and things like that?
You know something? It's impossible apart from the Lord.
Yeah.
He has gone before me and prepared their hearts. I know of at least 2 instances where Pygmies crossed borders, which mean nothing to them, of course, and try to get into tent revivals. And those fine Christians stood up and screamed, "Get out of here, you animals!" Because Pygmies are the most hated people on earth, and certainly the most hated people in Africa. And they go back brokenhearted. So God was actually stirring their hearts before I got there. And when I come, they call me their angel. They know I'm sent by God because there are miracles, so many.
Okay, I want to get on that point. So you're seeing miracles, which ends up being the icebreaker, so to speak, that your God is the one true God.
Yes.
Versus
but you
their
know,
superstition.
they know when they hear it, their hearts are moved. And what they do after we build a village, they'll parade in with all their voodoo idols and tree gods, and I do not tell them you must do this. They choose. They choose. And they'll bring them up in and burn them in the center of town, dance and sing and praise the Lord all night, and then reverently enter their new houses that we've built, and they'll name their village. They'll name it some Christian word or Christian name because they understand the principle of you can't serve 2 masters. Yeah. They get it.
Upon their conversion, are other Christians accepting them then?
You know, the first thing they say to me, I have a lot of beautiful movies and interviews on my website. I hope people will look at that. But there are interviews on there that as soon as they are saved, I'll take one of the little we give them maybe $10,000, $15,000 worth of beautiful gifts for every tribe because they have nothing, like machetes, clothes, food, things like that. But I'll take a little chief, 1 or 2 little chiefs back behind, and I'll interview them. And the first thing they say to me is, "Teach us about Jesus so we can go back to our own people." Now that sounds very nice, but you know what that really means? We're ready to die for this cause. Because going back in the deep jungle means the rebels may get them.
Does your work at times cause division within a tribe?
No, we've never seen it. We've had over 50 tribes and 58,000 Pygmies come to the Lord. So remember, lots of chiefs and lots of tribes in there, but very often they'll join together and come together in a village.
Can people join you in your efforts?
I hope they will.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We need their prayer support. We need the financial support, and they can get on my website and be partakers of that.
It's BreeKeytonMinistries.com, BreeKeyton Ministries.com. All right, let me just remind our viewers and listeners that Bree's going to be ministering tomorrow at the Grants Pass Aglow. That's at 10 o'clock. And then the Esther Forth Conference here in Medford at 33 North Central, and that's going to be Friday and Saturday?
Yeah, that's the old Woolworth building is what they tell me.
Yeah.
But Friday 1 and 7, Saturday 10 and 1.
Okay. And then Sunday you'll be at the Jerusalem Center with Pastor Dave Gomez.
Yes, looking forward to that.
Fascinating. Where's this going? Where's all of this going? I mean,
you know something? There's a transformation. I'm so glad you asked that, because it's on my heart to share with you that in those villages, They are growing exponentially in the Lord so fast. You know that scripture, the plowman will overtake the reaper.
Right.
It's happening. It's happening. And the bright light of the gospel is shining in this dark place. The Pygmies themselves, so hated, so rejected, are becoming such a bright light in that darkness that the big Africans around them that previously hated them are beginning to love them. And as we plant crops, and the Pygmies are becoming economically viable, so they go in and sell their products in the villages, the regular African village, and so they're gaining some respect there. And the big Africans, who are very jealous of their 100-fold harvests, this is transformation. They'll sometimes come stomping into a village, and they'll say, "How come you guys?" And they're very angry, you know, they're very big. Pygmies are very small, they're only about 4 feet or less. "How come you got this big harvest and we got nothing?" And the Pygmy chiefs will stand up in their tribes next to them and they'll say, "Well, we lived through the epidemic and all our people are alive. How many did you lose?" And they'll go, "We lost whole villages." And then the Pygmy chief will say, "We're getting 100-fold harvests. How are your harvests?" "We got nothing, we got no rain." He said, "We have a great harvest and our people are alive because of the God we serve." They'll stand up and say it. "Don't you want this God?" And they will lead the Africans, the big ones, to the Lord, who hate them.
Wow.
So they're spreading the gospel too.
Well, Bree, you are very inspiring. Thanks for being with us. And let me encourage you to check out some of the places that she'll be speaking. Again, you can go to Bree Keyton, ministries.com. There's a picture of her book on the screen. You may want to grab that. And again, tomorrow, Grants Pass Aglow at 10, and then the Esther Force Conference in Medford, both Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday at the Jerusalem Center. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
Keep up the good work.
What a blessing
You
and
too.
an honor to be
And
here.
thanks for your testimony about what television did for you.
Oh, you know it. You know Pat Robertson.
Yeah.
Well,
it's been a while, but yes.
A lot of old musicians got saved through him because they cycled it all night.
Yeah.
See?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and it's always a delight to have back with us our good friend Dr. Alex McFarland. He's the Director for Christian Worldview and Apologetics at the Christian Worldview Center of North Greenville University in Greenville, South Carolina. I love this guy and his passion, and he writes books like crazy, and so you need to go to the website and check out some of his material, and we got a lot of things to talk to him about today. Hi, Alex. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning to you. Wow, a lot going on. First of all, right at the top, tell us about the Truth for the New Generation Conference.
Oh, man, thanks very much. Well, you know, we do this every year. It's a big apologetics conference, apologetics and defending the faith. And this year, September 5th and 6th, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Great place, just right near the Greenville-Spartanburg Airport. But we're going to be September 5th and 6th, hearing from great speakers like Josh McDowell, Sean McDowell, David Barton, Eric Metaxas, Johnny Erickson Tata. We'll be hearing from Tim Wildman, who's the president of the American Family Association, but also our very special guest this year, first time ever at the TNG event, is Dr. Ben Carson, and more than 20 speakers on apologetics, Christian worldview, and it's for all ages. And the website for this big event, we do it every year, but it's truthforanewgeneration.com. And I just want to say a big thanks to KDOV. Last year at TNG, we had people from 35 U.S. states, and a big part of that success and what God is doing through it. You know, I'm thankful to folks like you guys who help us get the word out.
Well, it's a great conference, and I want to encourage our viewers and listeners to check it out. Again, September 5th and 6th, so you got some time to plan for it. truthforanewgeneration.com. You can go there and get signed up and be a part of it. And if you are into apologetics or want to learn more about defending the faith, this is one of the must-attend conferences, and I encourage you to do that. How did you get Dr. Ben Carson?
Well, you know, it was such a blessing. Last fall, I was in Washington, D.C. at a big event called the Values Voter Summit, which is something that the American Family Association and Family Research Council jointly puts together. Tony Perkins and FRC and Tim Wildman and AFA, and met some of Ben Carson's staff, got to know them. I was in Cincinnati, Ohio at a homeschool convention speaking, and met with Dr. Carson and just said, hey, let's preach the gospel to an audience. Here's the thing. I've got kind of one button on my keyboard, and that's spiritual awakening in America. Mm-hmm. I want to see a great revival in America, and I believe a big part of that is, obviously the proclamation of the gospel, but it's also equipping people to defend the faith. The Word of God tells the church to be ready always to give an answer. We need to be able to present, explain, and defend the faith. And way back in the 1990s, I wanted to meet Josh McDowell. And we brought Josh McDowell to my home city at that time, which was Greensboro, North Carolina. And then we brought in, other speakers like Lee Strobel and Norm Geisler and Ravi Zacharias. And here we are in 2014. And to the listeners, I would say, if you're not aware of it, there's this kind of tsunami building of apologetics.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's the most exciting thing that, 20 years ago, apologetics was kind of a word that you would only hear in...
Oh. Okay. I apologize for that. Skype being what it is. We'll get reconnected here with Dr. Alex McFarland. And, he is so right about something. I'll just take a few moments here to kind of highlight it. Of all the programs that we have both on the Dove Radio and the Dove TV, the subject of apologetics by far receives the greatest response and interest. People love it. And whether it's Dr. Ravi Zacharias or the various programs that we have on the Dove TV that defend the faith, and then when we have guests like Dr. Alex McFarland on, the whole subject of defending the faith and explaining what we believe certainly is extremely popular. And I want to encourage you, if you can, this is one of those conferences you may want to prayerfully consider attending. It's called the Truth for New Generation Conference. It'll be September 5th and 6th there. And you can go to truthforanewgeneration.com and get all the information and sign up and attend that conference. But Alex is absolutely right. The number one response that we get a lot of programs, don't you know? We got some great teachers. We got some great lifestyle programming on the radio and on the Dove TV and the Dove Radio. But by far, apologetics is number one. All right, we got you back. Sorry about that.
Hey, man, sorry about that. Little hiccup there. Hey, man, let me just interject this. By God's grace, and I give God the glory, but it's been my privilege to write 16 books on apologetics and how to defend the faith.
Right.
And, I started out just really passionately wanting to equip teenagers and young people to not, lose their faith when they go to college. And now in the last, 18 years, I've been able to speak all over the country. And to everyone listening, I want to come to your church, and I want to come to your church, and it can be an all-day Sunday, it can be a weekend, but let's talk about apologetics for all ages. We want to equip mom and dad to build a biblical worldview into the lives of their kids. We want to equip the church members to be able to share their faith confidently in any situation. And we want to especially equip young people, sure, to love Jesus and win their friends, defend the faith, but I believe so passionately that the preservation of America depends on a revival of Christianity. Call me. If you go to my website, which is alexmcfarland.com, you'll find contact info. Listen, in 2015, I'm slam till the end of this year. But 2015, 2016, let's plan an apologetics event for your church. I will come. We will equip your people. And let me say, I've seen it, many times. On the tracks of apologetics and biblical content that defends the gospel, on those very same tracks comes revival. And we need an awakening. And God's beginning to ignite this, and apologetics is a big part of it. Call me. I want to come to your town.
All right. AlexMcFarland.com. Check it out. Alex, have we taken Christianity for granted in this country? I mean, have you ever thought you'd live to see the day where Christians are being ostracized and under attack like we are now in the gospel?
Yeah, I really do think we've taken it for granted. You know, Benjamin Franklin said, everybody loves the fruits of freedom, but few are willing to tend the tree that bears the fruits of freedom. And part of that, the tree that bears freedom is the gospel, the biblical worldview. Now, I think about my friends David and Jason Benham in Charlotte. I've lived in the Charlotte, North Carolina area since '06. And I mean, two of the finest godly Christian people who are incredible contributors to the community. They do things for others. They're incredible benefactors of the city, are the Benham brothers. And I was so thrilled 1 year ago. They spoke at Truth for a New Generation last year, and they said, hey, they're both former pro athletes. They played baseball. They're entrepreneurs. They've built a big business. They employ dozens of people. They give to the city. They help homeless people get in houses. I mean, they're everything a good citizen should be. And they, last year at TNG, talked about how they were going to get this show on HGTV. And, it is disheartening that when a Christian shares their convictions, plus what just so happens to be biblical truth, that the well-organized, well-funded, for 4 decades, nearly unrelenting gay cultural propaganda machine bullies HGTV into canceling that show. It is sad that rather than standing on convictions, now people, really acquiesce to political correctness. And the Benham brothers are just the latest casualty in that struggle.
I was shocked when I saw that, but on the other hand, I have personally written HGTV on many occasions concerning some of the content or the suggestive content, because overall the network is a great network. It's got a lot to offer, but there is a bent there. It's a very pro-homosexual bent, and I've written some nice emails. Never to this date have received a response to any of them, and then here come the Denham brothers, and they're just flat ousted for praying.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And folks, let me just say this. The whole battle of worldviews that we're in right now, whereby different worldviews could be put on equal footing as the biblical worldview that our founding fathers really based America on. All of this has been possible because there's been this tacit assumption that there are no moral absolutes. And so 2 points that are worth making is moral absolutes exist, and our nation and our society, really our freedoms and our liberties, are completely predicated on there being a God and a moral code that we can know and should follow. The other point that's worth making is this, that the mainstreaming of homosexuality and really the legitimizing of gay marriage to the exclusion of those who would defend traditional marriage. All of that has not been because science discovered people are born gay. False, never happened. All of this has happened not because God's moral code has been nullified, never happened. What you and I are seeing is simply the result of really 45 years of PR and marketing of the gay agenda. And you might think, well, gee, big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal because do you understand, folks? Do you understand that as we get rid of people like the Benham brothers and their viewpoint, as we marginalize anybody that would try to defend traditional values, we've got two things that are very sad. Number one, our religious freedoms are being eroded, and therefore all of our freedoms are being undermined. But do you understand? We're going to turn our back on 2,000 years of Western civilization. We're going to turn our back on 5,000 years of a Judeo-Christian worldview, all because of a 40-year propaganda campaign. We're going to redefine what marriage and family is all about. History, civilization, the bedrock of society, just because some activists have really outmaneuvered us.
Let me take a quick break, Alex. I'll be right back. Dr. Alex McFarland is with us. And again, alexmcfarland.com. And if you want to attend the upcoming conference, go to the Truth for a New Generation conference.com. Okay, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back with Dr. Alex McFarland, and just really appreciate what this gentleman stands for and what he does. And he has this conference coming up in September 5th and 6th, and it's called the Truth for a New Generation Conference. You can go to truthforanewgeneration.com and find out all about the conference and sign up. And if you want to check out Dr. McFarland's material, you can go to alexmcfarland.com and check out his books. And he is very passionate. You know, Alex, your theme this year is life and liberty, and I sense your passion to return America back to its biblical roots. Life and liberty, how did you select that as your theme? We lost him. All right. Been a day of challenges. Okay, we'll get him back here in just a moment. Again, truthforanewgeneration.com for the conference in September. And then, of course, for him personally, it's alexmcfarland.com. All right, there you are. You're back. Did you hear my question about life and liberty?
No, repeat that,
Okay,
please.
well, I see where you have life and liberty as the topic for your conference, and I know you have a real passion for the Christian heritage of America. How did you select life and liberty be your theme?
Well, this year our theme is life and liberty because, for one thing, folks, we want to talk to young people about how to do America. We've got to tell a young generation how to America, because there are just so many people now, even some grown-ups, that just really think America was just this economic experiment, when really it was the uniting of biblical principles with the principles of good civil government. But I'll tell you this, every year at TNG, we partner with the Chuck Colson Ministry to do what we call a national briefing. And last year we did a big national briefing on religious freedom. Well, this year we're going to have, in addition to all the great speakers, Johnny Erickson, Josh McDowell, Gary Habermas, Tim Wildman, David Barton, Ben Carson, all these great speakers. But the Colson Center puts together this roundtable. And this year, basically we're going to talk about human rights and personhood. Think about it. Are your rights given by God and therefore can't be taken away, as our founders said, inalienable, or are your rights given by the government? Now think about this in the case of Hobby Lobby. In one of the Supreme Court deliberations, one of the people who was arguing in favor of Obamacare, saying that businesses have to pay for abortifacients, have to provide same-sex spousal benefits to gay couples. The pro-Obamacare lawyers argued, hey, when you go into business, you give up some of your constitutionally protected rights. False. So life and liberty given by God, we're saying that life is sacred in all contexts. We're saying that freedoms are not piecemeal handed out to you by the government, but they're given by God. And, I want to say again to KDove what a thanks I owe you all. Last year when we had people from 35 U.S. states, we had many, many, many attendees from the West Coast because of your help in promoting. This year, folks, come to Spartanburg, South Carolina, September 5 and 6. This is not just a two-day theology lecture. I mean, this is going to light a fire in your hearts. This is going to equip the hearts and lives of young people pastors, parents, and we're going to talk about life and liberty are gifts from God. Our founders believed it. We need to know it. And we just believe that this is part and parcel of the restoration of our country that simply must take place. We cannot, come on, church, we cannot roll over and play dead and let this nation turn into a totalitarian, politically correct police state with the homosexual thought police trying to silence those that would share the gospel, like Jason and David Benham, Hobby Lobby. No. Well, we love people, but we've got to defend truth.
Do you think the church in America is now waking up, in spite of the fact that this is a political battle, they're going to have to get involved in it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think people are understanding that this thing of less than 1/3 of Christians being registered to vote, that's unacceptable. We've got to know what we believe, and we've got to avail ourselves to these wonderful channels God has given our nation, which includes the ballot box. Mm-hmm. I think people are waking up, and every generation has its unique assignment. Our founders weathered the winter at Valley Forge, and they fought the Revolution, and our grandparents weathered the Great Depression and the Cold War. Well, we're in a battle of worldviews, and that's different, I understand, but we've got to be not only godly Christians, but engaged citizens. And so I think people are beginning to get it. I hope they are.
I think there's also a genuine awakening that we are now in a spiritual battle for the heart and soul of America. That we are now, we're seeing the propagation of nonsense as being gospel, against the gospel,
Yeah, and let me say this, we have the admonition to love our neighbor. Mm-hmm. Love means seeking the highest good of another. And love sometimes means that we don't tell people what they necessarily want to hear, but what they need to hear. In the case of the homosexual agenda, homosexuality, I minored in developmental psychology at the master's level. Homosexuality is a means of dealing with pain. There are what are called precipitating factors that contribute to people struggling with same-sex attraction. And we are not loving our neighbor when we say, go ahead and thrust yourself into a detrimental lifestyle. The Mark Regnerus at University of Texas in Austin in 2012 documented how children raised in same-sex households have much higher indicators for at-risk and very destructive behavior. So let me just say this, Christian, you can jump on the train at any level. Fidelity to the gospel, defense of the faith, preservation of our freedoms. But if nothing else, loving your neighbor means standing for the truth about the great issues of our day, which I think the point of the spear is certainly the moral issue of marriage, family, and homosexuality.
How do you feel we are doing against the issue of Islam being more and more accepted in this country and having equal footing to Christianity? How do we balance that one?
Well, we are a pluralistic culture in the sense of people are free to believe what they want to believe. Right. But pluralism as a worldview is not true, right, that says all beliefs are equally valid. Right. And so Muslims are free to be Muslims if they want to be Islamic, but we Christians should never cede the ground and say that Islam is equal to Christianity. Here's the thing. Jesus Christ claimed to be the one and only Son of God. Either he was right or he was wrong. Now, Christ coupled his exclusivistic claims, John 8:24, if you do not believe that I am he, you will die in your sins. See, Jesus made some incredible claims, but he coupled those claims with unparalleled, unequal levels of confirming proof, not the least of which is his own physical resurrection from the dead. And so we Christians have to understand that there was a man who said Jesus is the only way to heaven. Guess who said that? Jesus said Jesus is the only way to heaven. And so we can't cave in to the pressures of the age and just say that all religions are equally valid, because they're not. Only one has an empty tomb.
Alex, you're a delight. And let me just say again, truthforanewgeneration.com is the website for the conference in September. And if you want to correspond with Alex and make available yourself to his resources and the many books that he's authored, and that's alexmcfarland.com. Thanks, buddy. Keep up the good work, and let's stay connected and have you on some more between now and September, okay?
Bless you. God bless you, and thank you so much for KDove.
All right, thank you, pal. Talk to you soon. All right, we'll be back next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.